Welcome on into the Ryan Ripken Show. Happy Tuesday. We are back, and I hope you had a great weekend. Happy Easter, Passover to everyone, whatever you are celebrating. Hope you had a great weekend, and we are back in action here. And we got a lot to talk about here on this edition and this week of the Ryan Ripken Show. But today, on Tuesday, April 22nd, we had an opportunity to sit down with two guests before. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it for the live show, but MLB Network's Mark DeRosa joined us, talked about the World Baseball Classic and a debate and conversation around analytics and consistency when it comes to lineups. Sounds like people might have an interest in that. And then from 106.7 The Fan down in D.C., Grant Paulsen joined us to talk about the Caps, Ovechkin, but then, hey, the Nats and the O's are facing off, the new Masson deal. And then specifically, there's one player. Oriole fans know that Gunnar Henderson is a superstar, and I've said it on this show and on social media. Get to know the names. James Wood. We'll preview that of Grant's words on what James Wood is being, and that is a flat-out superstar. And his ceiling, well, there is no ceiling. We're going to go around Major League Baseball because there's some other notes we want to look at. Obviously, the American League is starting to continue to progress, but the Orioles aren't the only team off to a slow start. We're going to look around of where teams are and what could be the problems or the panic, so to speak. And then the NFL draft is this week, Zach. So we're going to relive some old stories and a certain quarterback prospect might be faster than Lamar Jackson, or at least he makes the case. Let us know where you're tuning in from today. Behind the sticks to make it all work, Mr. Zach Bollinger. Zach, how are we doing today?
Feeling a lot better today than I was on Sunday. Well, at least watching that game Sunday. But it's a new day. Saw Nick put it in. Why not us today? Why not the O's today? So new day, lots to talk about. Had some great conversation talking to Mark DeRosa about baseball. Had be ready to run through a wall at times. He just is a guy that talk about World Baseball Classic, everything. You can tell why they chose him. He's a guy who he's ready to go. Not only just be there, he likes to win. And he likes to go out there and compete.
USA by a million. Just kidding. It's going to be a hell of a battle there. But the excitement's there for the World Baseball Classic, which we love. And as I'm seeing people tuning in from, I'm seeing Bahamas, Baltimore, down in 50 from Naptown, Fort Myers, overseas with British Raven over there. So many people, let us know where you're tuning in from. And as we kick off this show, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Merritt Clubs. We appreciate them. I've ordered 2 or 3 different sticky things.
It's going to happen eventually.
I can't get this thing up properly. I'm upset with it, but we have so many different giveaway opportunities. We have some things brewing for next week when the Orioles are playing the Yankees in Baltimore. And in the meantime, though, offer still stands. If you are in the region, they got a lot of different locations, but here's the link below, meritclubs.com/Ryan-Ripken/ and you use the code RIP25, all lowercase, RIP25, get up to a 30-day membership, and it's on us, people helping people. When I move, you move.
Just like that.
Just like that. And Zach, I think we should move right into the first conversation. Let's just get this weekend out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, I hope you enjoyed your time with family. A lot of people spent. If you're at the yard, that might have been an experience that you want to forget. I saw on social media, Zach, someone said it was their first game. Imagine that's your first game as an Oriole fan at the yard, and the boys are just getting taken behind the woodshed. They might not be able to go back.
Would never go back ever again. Like I'm telling you right now, if my first baseball game was a 24-2, especially if it was my team who lost 24-2, I would not be a fan of baseball. I'd be like, not doing this. This is simply horrible. Nothing about this is fun. And I'm sure there were people walking. If you were an Oriole fan and you stayed that whole game, I still believe the Orioles should give you free tickets to another game, because that was it takes a true fan to watch Jorge Mateo and Gary Sanchez try to get some outs while you're down 18 runs.
Yeah. And really, I applaud the effort. The bullpen was ravaged. We knew that going into the game on Sunday. Charlie can't go deeper into the game. And speaking of Charlie Morton, going to break this down after this opening segment here. And you guys might think I'm crazy. You might think I'm nuts. You know what they said in Austin Powers, Zach? I used to think you were crazy, and now I can see you're nuts. Thank you. You haven't seen that part of the movie, have you? Okay. Well, falling on deaf ears. But in this case, though, you guys might think I'm crazy that Charlie Morton, this outing, I'm not saying the Orioles win this game, Zach, but I'm going to explain to you guys with what happened yesterday, how the Orioles could have had a shot to win this game and how Charlie Morton very well could have been pitching into the 5th inning or deeper. And I mentioned it on X, pitch selection is the key component. We'll get into that in a minute, but why don't we talk about our teasing the interview with Mark DeRosa? So MLB Network, he's on all the time, I think, left and right. And MLB Central, which shout out to them. I think MLB Network as a whole, I'm biased. I think they have some of the greatest programming. It's round the clock. And MLB Central has been nominated for Outstanding Studio Show. So congratulations to them and well-deserved. But a conversation that I know in Baltimore has been talked about plenty. We talked about the example of analytics versus a little bit more of consistency in the human element. And in this conversation, Zach, goes around lineups. So I asked Mark DeRosa specifically, what does he think about balancing the analytics and the human part of the game? Let's play that clip for you guys. Orioles specifically, they have a lot of movement in their lineup consistently. It's not the same lineups. They're shuffling in. But around baseball, you said to that point, Buster Posey has a track record of being a winning player. Yeah. And that mean it's going to correlate to the front office, but there is a value to the baseball side, to the analytics. How would you best describe a balance of that?
Yeah, I think you got to have a balance of it, but you better understand the human element of the game and how each move, if the lineup's constantly changing, how can you expect your team to get in a flow? How can you expect guys to know your roles? The most successful teams are the teams where guys drive to the yard every day knowing how they add value to that team. Not wondering if I'm hitting 3rd today, 7th if I go 0 for 4. Am I on the bench? Am I a starter? What am I to this team? Because then you're constantly trying to change your profile day to day. That was the one thing I thought Bobby Cox did better than anyone. He let you know in spring training it was going to be hard for you to change his thought process on how you added value, but I never drove home wondering where I stood year to year on what his expectations were. And I think that's huge.
I think so too. And it's not just baseball players, but baseball players are creatures of habit. They like to know what they're doing, but people are creatures of habit. When you're more prepared for what your role is going to be and established, typically it rests your mind. And you can say, I'm good at adapting, but you and I both know not everyone can go out there and be thrown into the fire each and every day and expect to have results. And that's why
and the dudes know, Ryan.
Yeah.
The dudes know who should be playing, who should be hitting where, who should be coming out of the bullpen in certain spots. You can't fool them.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing like crazy things like, whoa, we're going there, here in the 7th inning, 8th day, you start to wonder what's going on, and it just permeates into the locker room. When you got a guy who's got your back and he's kind of firing on all cylinders, guys are put in the right positions, that's when the good teams and good chemistry comes together.
So that was, again, Mark DeRosa with MLB Network talking about this situation. And Zach, we actually talk about this a lot, and we talked about it last year when we talked about roles. And the conversation, at least last year, we started with when Felix Bautista wasn't available, and you were talking about bullpen roles. And it felt like it's an all hands on deck, which it is. But that's a hard thing for bullpens to try to be able to know what you can adapt to. Who's your high leverage guys? Who can handle pitching in the 8th, 9th inning of games? Oh, and then, by the way, your offense, your lineups, guys get in a rhythm when they know where they are each and every day. Gunnar Henderson knows he's going to play every day, right? Jordan Westburg, if he's healthy and he's feeling good, which we know he's been battling a little bit of some soreness, Westy's going to be in there a majority of the days. Adley is going to be in there a majority of days. But when things are being moved around a lot, I want to emphasize that it's not as simple as plugging and playing, Zach, of guys are going to be able to adapt to it. You know, one guy who can do that?
Who?
Ramon Arias.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said he has a value, why the Orioles like to do that style. But other players, I don't think that they've gotten comfortable with what their roles are. Ryan O'Hearn's comfortable. Every time there's a righty, I'm in the lineup. Great. But for young players trying to figure it out, Zach, consistency is very important. And I think it does correlate a little bit as they're trying to fight through some early season adversity as a unit.
Yeah, I mean, when Mark was talking about this, I felt like I was throwing my hands up, just letting him preach, because it was exactly what I feel like we've been saying for so long this season. And not even this season, really kind of semi going back to last year, although injuries were kind of the reason they had to shuffle so much at the end of last season. But right now, for a young team, and the Orioles are still a young team. Yes, they have some, I know people look at the pitching staff and go, this isn't a young team. This is still a position player, a very young team. It does, and I'm going to give it to him. The one guy that I feel like consistently has been getting, where you're playing, what you're doing, has probably been Jackson Holliday. And that's not even great, because there are sometimes he should be playing against lefties. He's not. He's out of the lineup random times. But he knows for the most part he's probably going to be batting 8th or 9th. He's going to be playing second base. Gunnar knows he's going to be playing shortstop, but we've seen him from 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've seen Adley in 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've seen Seti. Jordan Westberg, I think, has hit every position but 8th and 9th or something, or just 9th this year. So it has been consistency issue, and you can't, on Kevin and Zach React, we say take a drink every time we say consistency, because it feels like we preach it so often. It's hard for players to play consistently when they aren't consistently getting these opportunities in the same spot. They don't know where they're going to play. I love what he brought up, where he goes, I don't know, hey, am I batting 3rd today, but if I go 0 for 4, I'm batting 7th tomorrow, because then that puts pressure on you. It's like, oh, if I have a bad game, not only is it's not just to get him tomorrow, it could be now it's 2 days before I get back out there, because you don't know. And I love what he said. He never questioned what his role was, what his value to this team is. I could see there are some guys out there who don't necessarily know, okay, what is my role on this team right now?
And how many times in the past, and I know apparently I'm so biased, I have the rose-colored glasses on, and ironically, for those that follow the show, we talk about this all the time. How many times have we talked about last year and even this year, your lineup, you got to find what works for you, okay? Not everyone has the same role. And what I mean by that is you're going to have your big RBI guys, the guys in the big moment. Who's going to get that stake runner in scoring position that's going to drive them in, and you want to give that guy's opportunity? Okay, you need those guys in your lineup. Who's the guy that's going to get on base and make things happen? You need one of those guys in the lineup. And then you're going to need guys that are able to pass the baton along and continue to make it all work. The good problem for Baltimore is they have so much talent on that team offensively that 1 through 9 can leave the ballpark.
Yeah.
1 through 9 can have a big game. But the downside is figuring out where you fit in to make the little things work when you're maybe not on your A game, if that makes sense. So I understand early in the season too. I want to get this point out there. You don't want your bench to just go away and feel like that they are a lost cause. Ramon Liriano is a perfect example where everyone was so upset with him getting a chance. And look, he got off to a rough start, but guess what? He has to enter a game and he hits 2 home runs and is 5 feet away from his 3rd jack of the game. Insane, right? That's why they signed him. But I do understand when you're looking at your other young guys, hey, here's the plan. Here's what we're going to do. And for the time being, where are you comfortable with hitting? Because the one thing you just mentioned, Zach, psychologically, not everyone is great with moving up and down the lineup. They can say it out loud, but subconscious, or they might say out loud, oh, I'll be wherever I am. Just be honest. Some guys like hitting lower in the lineup. Some guys thrive hitting 4 or 5. And I think that's another element that you're going to have to figure out. And the older players are going to be better with that. It's the younger players as they're trying to get in rhythm of being comfortable no matter what. And look, so much time to go, but I'm glad that we are having this discussion. It's such a deeper conversation than, we need to put out the best guys. It's not just always that. That helps, obviously. But you know the other part that we didn't mention so far? Human element. If a guy's got 3 knocks one day, it's really hard for me to take him out of the lineup. Right? Yeah. Jackson hit the granny. I want to see Jackson back in there. Ryan O'Hearn swinging the bat really well. I don't want that fire to be put out. I'm gonna let him ride out. Cedric Mullins, I'm glad he's facing lefties. You need him to. He has to play as a necessity, and also you know when he's not in center field. You can feel it. So the heartbeat part of that is that those guys, if they're swinging the bat well, ride it, and then you move forward. It doesn't always. That was the last part I wanted to mention. You can't measure a player's heartbeat, and you can't always look at the matchup base. You got to look at who's really swinging it well for my club at the time. One thing then, and we'll move on, Zach. For everyone that's getting on Adley and Westberg and all these big slumps, I'm not worried about them long term. And you know what I do love? They're playing. They're out there. So with all the negative that people want of getting guys out of the lineup, you better stick with your dudes that are struggling, right? Yeah. Like live with the fact. If Jordan Westberg's struggling, you live with Jordan Westberg struggling. Adley's struggling, you live with it. Keep giving them opportunities. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where I think that the human element is where people really have become frustrated with the Orioles lineup decisions because of opportunities like Jackson Holiday has a 3-hit game. Heston Kirst had the exact same game, gets I believe 2 hits, including an RBI single off a lefty. The next day you get a lefty in there, reverse splits, if that means anything to you. But it felt like the perfect opportunity to be like, hey, the young guys are feeling it. They're coming off a big game. This is an opportunity. Put them back in the lineup. Get them the opportunities right back on the horse. We don't care it's a lefty. And then put the confidence in them that, hey, we don't care there's a lefty on it. You're swinging the bat well. We want you in the lineup. You keep doing this, you're never leading in the lineup. If Holiday gives you 3 hits a game, I don't care if it's a versus a righty or a lefty. He should be in there every time. Same with Kirsta. We've seen obviously before the hit by a pitch, which is a whole nother thing that just unfortunate for him. These guys, when they're hot, they're hot.
Yeah.
And this is not the time in their career to be like, oh, he's having 2 really good games back to back, but we want to get Jorge in the lineup. Let these young guys develop. Let them get their feet underneath them. Let them fail. Let them have their success when it's coming because, success isn't, we saw Jackson Holiday 0 for 17 before that grand slam. Get their confidence back. And I think that's where it's frustrating from a fan perspective and really just as someone who follows the game because you're like these young guys, every time it feels like they start to get their feet underneath them and start to get comfortable. They miss 2 of 3 games because the lefty's up. And you're like, you're stopping the momentum here. So I agree with Mark. You need to have guys know their roles on the team and how they help and give that confidence back to them.
And you got to sink or swim with those guys as far as for fans too. You got to sink or swim. And the one thing I just want to throw out at the end of this, everyone wants to put a blame on Brandon Hyde for everything. And he's the captain of the ship. Mm-hmm. But also I want to throw out there, we just mentioned about some of your star players struggling. Starting pitching, if you don't go out there and get deep into a game, you're going to be in trouble. That's not going to be on the manager right there. This is the starting staff that you have. If they don't go out and do their job, you're going to have to be at an uphill battle. Lineup-wise, yes, we can talk about what we'd like to see or consistencies. If your stars aren't playing as well, Zach, which the Orioles stars hadn't been playing as well, you're going to have struggles. We just mentioned Jordan Westberg and Adley Rutschman are 2 all-stars. Until yesterday or Sunday, they hadn't had 2 hits in a game in a while, and they both in that blowout had 2 knocks. So if they get going, Gunner's swinging the bat well with Cedric Mullins, this offense is going to be fine. But I just want to point out there's more that goes into it with just wanting to put blame on one person. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 2:30 to 4:30-ish p.m. We might be a little bit earlier today, just given the context of what we are up to. But the other part, Zach, and maybe this is a good transition. Yeah. We talked about pitching. And it starts with your starter on the mound, on the bump. And for the Baltimore Orioles, it's no secret. They've had trouble going deeper into games. They're 21 games in right now. They have starters that have completed 6 innings. Not that they've gotten to the 6th. Completed 6 innings of work 5 times so far this season. 3 of them are by Zach Eflin, who's currently trying to make his return. The other 2 was Cade Povich against Kansas City, Tomoyuki Sagano at home against the Cleveland Guardians. That's it. So that's under 25% of your starts. So the one thing with Charlie Morton, and he made comments the other day, Zach, and I'm going to start getting ready to got to find where my thing is. The audio. Is it over there? Okay, I see it perfectly. But this is where everyone might think I'm crazy with Charlie Morton. He made the comments where you hear that and go, I don't know if I physically have it. And that when you hear that as a fan, you go, what do you mean? He was being honest, but that strikes fear in somebody when they say it. But when he says, I think that my stuff's good, but I don't know, I actually get why he says that. And I'm going to show you why, because the outing yesterday was not about that necessarily his curveball isn't landing, which it isn't. We're going to talk about pitch selection, because there is a good chance that Charlie Morton could have been in the 5th or 6th inning of this game yesterday if in certain moments it might have been a different pitch that he threw. Because you're going to look at this and go, damn, this actually could have turned out better. And for those that are wondering why he got pulled, the Orioles typically, when they get to 30 to 35 pitches in an inning, they have to pull the guy. That's like a rule for a lot of teams. They don't want to overexhaust. Charlie was right around 30 pitches for that inning. But I'm going to break it down. So, Zach, your little words why I get the roadcaster set up for me.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. And first off, Tim, appreciate you. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, Ryan, the big talk of the town's been Charlie Morton recently, and I'll say it, not for any good reason. I mean, over the past every start, 5 start, it feels like you're asking for something that is just not, it's not getting there. You hope for some sort of resemblance of a quality start, keep the guys in it for something. They've lost all 5 games. He's 0-5. I've talked about it before, and, and Kevin and Zach react extensively. I loved the signing in a vacuum when it first happened, because it felt like this was a good veteran to have as your number 5 to eat innings while you wait for other guys to recover from injury, kind of get back. I thought this was a very nice veteran back of the rotation ad. It's not been a good ad on the field. Now because of injuries, he's like your number 2, number 1, unfortunately. So it has felt like just a worst case scenario since he's gotten here, not only for him, but for the Orioles, because now they do have to rely on him to kind of be one of their guys. But I think they kind of brought him in just to be an extra and just kind of more of a veteran presence than, their number 2 guy right now.
For sure. Can you hear me okay? Is this better this way, or how should I do it? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think thumbs up.
Bark in the chat if you
can
hear
thumbs
me
up, or say something in the chat if you can hear Ryan.
I'm trying to work on it so it doesn't sound so echoey. As long as people can hear me, we'll rock and roll on this situation. I know it's better if I do this, but I don't want to hold it the entire time.
Yeah, I just turned you up, so you should be good.
Turn it up. Oh, we're turning up.
Turn up.
Turn up. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Are we good? We can still hear me? Good enough? Good enough. Okay. You know what? I'll just hold it, Zach, because it sounds better when I'm this way. Okay. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We do these breakdowns. But Charlie Morton, okay, we can go through so many different facets of what hasn't been working right. You can look at his numbers and go, he's not landing his curveball. That's his main pitch. You're exactly right. But when you watch what happened yesterday, a phrase that I like to say and what I've learned is you got to pitch with what you have that day. And you got to look at how hitters are approaching you on a consistent basis. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, don't want to cancel that. I want to talk to you guys specifically a little bit more about what I thought could have been for Charlie Morton yesterday. And instead, we're talking about another really disappointing, struggling, and you're wondering what his future is. So right now, we're going to start off this game, and it starts off really well for Charlie, actually. How well? Well, he's going to throw 2 heaters here. Strike 1. Great. Great start. Strike 2. Inside. He's late. Awesome. Now it gets to a 1, or he ends up getting the guy out there. 1 out on 4 pitches, okay? Next batter here, going to attack with a fastball. Inside, paints it. That had a lot of good movement. Hey, how you doing? Great. We'll take it. As we keep moving then, next pitch, he's going to hang a changeup, which I didn't love this pitch selection. I'll get into that. But because it's right down Broadway, not ideal, but it does induce a pop-up. And this is where you're at. You have 2 outs so far when Seti makes his catch. Great job, Sed. Proud of you. Good kid. So here's my thing. He is at 6 pitches through the first 2 batters. No one's on. And this is why I kept saying this, to me, set the tone for the entire day. Okay? And what I love right now, we're talking about, you're seeing him establish his fastball. Well, he's going to do it again with Ellie. It's going to be a pitch right up here that he's not going to get the strike call. Come on. They're going to call that a ball. That's fine. He's going to follow it up with a changeup right here. It's going to be fouled away. And now it's 1-1. But you know what I love? Is that he's reading what Ellie's doing, okay? And he's going to throw another high fastball here, and Ellie's going to check his swing. Check. Did he go? Did he go? Yes, he did. Good call. So now you're 1-2 on 9 pitches. And I get it. Your go-to pitch is going to be your curveball, right? So if you want to do that for 1, I get it. It's early. Try to establish it. He's going to end up throwing 1 down here. Okay? All right. So 2-2. This is where I guess I have a problem. You're going to try to double up again on this. Why can't I? No, go away. Go away. There we go. He doesn't just double up on this. There it is. Now it's 3-2. He's going to end up tripling up on this. So Ellie De La Cruz was late on a changeup, check swung a fastball, and then you get to the count where it's 3-2 and where you were at 9 pitches. He was at 9 pitches right there. Now you're up here and you're battling, and instead of challenging in the first inning, especially with one of the fastest dudes in the planet, if he goes yard, which we'll talk about later, I live with it. But instead, you go curveball, 2 outs, 3-2, and he takes it. And yes, I do understand that Charlie's curveball and maybe his arm angle is a little bit off and opening up. But the point being, you had him down 1-2. Personally, throw another heater. If he hits a home run, tip your cap. But if he just gets himself out, then you're in the dugout here on very limited pitches. But here's what happens after. You're going to throw another curveball here. And where's it going to end? You can guess. Down here. And Adley actually does a good job. Good catch, good throw, but not enough. Ellie's safe. And now this inning's going to continue. 13 pitches right there, right? And it's going to keep climbing now to 14. And now a 2-0 count. This is my example when I talk about pitch selection. So this is a hitter's count. 2-0. And when I'm sitting there going, like, is Charlie's stuff that bad? Well, yesterday, his fastball and cutter really didn't get hit around too much, but the counts he put himself in were a problem. But Austin Hayes is going to get a cutter that's going to come right over the middle part of the plate, and he's not going to have a great swing on it. Misses it. So now you're sitting 2-1. All right, well, what are we going to do next? Zach, you want to take a guess what he ends up throwing here?
Curveball.
Bingo. Another one. And look, it's a good take. It's not a bad pitch. But you're seeing my point of, all right, Austin didn't have a great swing on the cutter. So I'd rather go hard with that. Go with something more firm. Now it's 3-1. And the consistency that I saw on the day yesterday, righties, if a fastball was in and it was elevated, they had some success against him. They wanted to aim out here. And watch this. Guess what? Sinker away, fastball. Strike 2, 3-2, and I know a base is open, and I understand. You can be a little bit more strategic, but so far, Charlie has not landed a pitch for a strike. He hasn't even had a swing and miss on the curveball yet. So what would I have done? I would have said, hey, throw another one right there. And if Austin Hayes hits it, tip your cap. But you're going to get a curveball low, way out of the zone, uncompetitive, and now you're walking. And so my point is, we're going back to this. Look at this. He ended up finishing the inning at 21 pitches. He could have been done at 9 or 10 pitches, and it adds up. And here's an example of his fastball and pitch selection, by the way. These are hitter counts, right? So hitters can be more aggressive to go, all right, I'm going to hunt the fastball here because he's got to come to me. And guess what? Charlie Morton, he came to them with the fastball, threw it right down Broadway. And it's a swing and a miss, right? 2-1. All right, Charlie, let's throw it again. And he does. 2-1. Let's throw another one. Ground ball out, right? So the fastball, to me, I'm looking at this going, okay, his curveball isn't there, but that fastball is working, okay? And once again, 2-0 count. He fell behind a ton. The command wasn't great, but he's going to throw a fastball right down the middle. And if you tell any hitter, hey, I'm going to be aggressive and I'm going to try to really put a good swing on this, and you end up being late on this, that ball went this way again. I want to clarify that. So what's that mean? Jake Fraley is late on a 92-mile-an-hour heater right down the middle. Come on. There we go. 92 miles an hour. But then what ends up happening here? Change up, that's a good pitch. I can live with that. But my point is, you just had him be late on your fastball. Challenge again. Challenge again with the heater. Nothing to lose there. Now 3-1 here. You put yourself in a position, and then you pull a fastball. So the 2-1 pitch, I would have loved to see the fastball again. Because why? The batter is telling you he is not seeing your fastball that well out of his hand. Okay? And then when that happened, this is where then things can get a little bit off the top of it. I mean, look, that's a 92-mile-an-hour pitch, and that's the swing that they're putting on it. So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, damn, stuff doesn't look that bad. Now, he's going to get a fastball in, okay? Marte's going to make an adjustment. He's going to make a good swing. It's even higher. Hey, good swing. Fine. You live with that. But the problem, you walk and don't go to certain pitches, you get in trouble. Now, again, there's a theme for the day, 2-0. You're falling behind. Now it's first and second. Austin wins. Going to get a fastball again in. He's going to be all over it because he can be aggressive. Okay. They're scoring. But again, you can live with all that. Still 1 out. Or still 1 out, 1-0, so be it. And here's the example that I just try to keep showing people. His heater was working yesterday for the most part. Fastball, fouled it off, 0-2. And then guess what right here? Throw it again. Right down the middle. Froze him. Out of the inning. Right there. But the problem is you're throwing extra pitches because of the pitch selection. So now he's at 36. Okay? And actually, I meant to had this in the wrong order. This was right after the hit by Austin Wins. Zach, where do you think this fastball is going to be?
Middle.
And you think he's going to put a good swing on it?
Let's see.
Does that look like a great swing?
Don't think Friedel's going to say that.
So my point with all of this is, so far here, through the 2 innings, the consensus for me was Charlie Morton's fastball was actually working. He didn't locate it well, and you're going to see it on this pitch. He's got Ellie down 1-2, and they're trying to go high. And I'm okay with this. Like, this is, you missed your spot. Ellie was on. You tip your cap. I can live with this, Zach. Wouldn't you much rather live with, okay, you're supposed to go this way, and then you miss in a sweet spot, but you're not walking the guy. You're making him go out and earn it, right? So here it is. Good swing by Ellie. You made a bad pitch. Okay. He made you pay. No problem. Can live with that. 1-2 count. You got ahead. You went to go up, and you missed it. Okay? Ellie's going to celebrate, and he should. Hell of a play, too, the inning before by Ellie. But then here's the thing. Austin Hayes, what happened the last at bat, Zach? The cutter gave him problems, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, a cutter, variation of a fastball, in my mind, if he's struggling with that, let's go heater again. That's not what we did here. And this is where the pitch selection comes into play for me personally. I don't like righty-righty changeups if it's not your pitch. I know guys are mixing it in more. Usually when you throw a changeup from a right-handed pitcher, it's usually to a lefty. Fastball, changeup is a good combo there. You throw a changeup where Austin Hayes was already late on your fastball, and guess what? He's not going to be late on your changeup because it's just a mediocre fastball here. So there it is. There's a hit. So again, pitch selection. Now look at the pitch. Pitches are continuing to rise. He's at 46 now. It's going up and up. Falls behind 3-1. Once again, earlier in the bat, he wasn't challenging as much with the heater, trying to mix, wasn't landing the curveball. Go with what works for you today. Where you're going to throw a heater to Gavin Lux on a 3-1 pitch right down the middle. And Zach, where'd this ball go? Is he on time?
Yeah.
No, is Gavin Lux on time?
No.
He's late. That's a 3-1 count. And I don't get – try to be calm because I get it. But this is the human element. What is the batter telling you? The batter's telling you, I am not on time with your fastball.
And that's a pitch that Gavin Lux wants to put a million miles. I mean, that's not a – Charlie Morton's going to say that's not where he wanted to throw that ball.
No. And again, this is the part for me is his location was not great yesterday, and yet he could throw a 92-mile-an-hour fastball down the dish, and they still weren't putting a good swing on it. But then, Zach, we're 3-2 count now. You got no outs, and the guy's late. What would you call?
Probably another fastball or cutter.
And guess what happens? Curveball. And then it's outside, non-competitive, out of the hand. So you guys are seeing what I'm talking about. I'm looking here, and it's driving me crazy because you're giving free passes. Ellie had one good swing, but the inning before, leadoff walk. The first inning, you walk. Here's another walk. Then this is where the wheels start to come off, right? Because now it's first and second after you made a wrong pitch to Austin Hayes. Then you don't challenge Gavin Lux. And now all of a sudden you're going to throw a fastball and some are going to sneak through because that's the nature of the game. And he misses, base hit. Now you're in a hole. But once again, let's go back to how the hitters are facing Charlie. And this was the part for me. Jake Fraley, 2-1 count. What was he doing? He was fouling that ball late. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't want to give him anything soft. And I know he gives him a variation. He's going to give him a cutter. But a cutter is 5-6 mile an hour slower, Zach. And then when you give a wrong pitch to a hitter, he ends up hitting this 58 miles an hour, right? It's going to curve in a little bit here. But if he had this type of swing, imagine what the 92 mile an hour fastball would have done. Instead, Jake Fraley is going to take this cutter and just be able to pop it over top. And just like that, now he's getting in trouble. Now it's 4-1. And you're sitting there going, damn, it really didn't have to be this way. 2-2 count now, right? And this was the best curveball of the day for Charlie Morton. This was his only true swing and miss, really good curveball where he's going to have some good depth and it's going to drop in there for a strike or for a strikeout. That's a good one. That was his best one of the day. But again, if you're not landing it, you just got to pitch to what's going on. Austin wins here. It's a two sequence here. Austin had a base hit on the fastball, so what's Austin Wynn's going to be looking for? Knowing Winnie, he's going to be thinking off speed. So guess what? He's going to get a curveball right here that's going to hang up. And he smokes this. I think he hit this ball about 104, if I checked it correctly. Smoked it. So I want to ask you, Zach, they're on your off speed.
Yeah.
Curveball.
Mm-hmm.
What would you throw if they are that on your fastball or your curveball right there?
Throw a fastball.
Throw a fastball, right? Well, he's going to throw a righty-on-righty changeup. 88 miles an hour, and it's going to be right down the middle, and it's going to end Charlie's day. And I'm sitting there going, I hate for Charlie because I do get when he's saying, well, I don't know if my stuff's that good or whatever it may be. Well, the problem is that you're not giving yourself an opportunity to get yourself out of the situation. You know, and right here, Charlie Morton, location was not great. Yesterday for righties, the fastball worked if you pitched away to righties. And in general, your fastball was the pitch you got to go to. But this is a difference of Charlie going 2 1/3 innings and giving up 6 runs and getting booed out of the stadium. But yet, Zach, we could go through a handful of at-bats. It wasn't just one at-bat. And if 1 or 2 of those at-bats goes his way, this might be a 2-1 game. Like, take Elly De La Cruz, yeah, great. That's a home run. But then imagine he's out of the jam in the first after 11 pitches. He's building confidence. The Orioles bullpen would not be in the position that they were. Charlie wouldn't be feeling the way that he was. But that's where I sometimes question. When you're not going, I'm going to take it back to the beginning here. When you are not feeling yourself, and the phrase is, you got to pitch with what you have that day. Yesterday, his fastball was working, and he didn't go to it as much. And the result is the Orioles lose. They end up losing 24-2, and there's this embarrassment feeling. And as a position player, when you're out for a long inning, it zaps the hell out of you in day games.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a guy that is frustrated. He's down, and a lot can be said about the move. But when I'm looking at it, I go, well, clearly his stuff is still good, but the execution is not. And if that can change, maybe things can turn around, but you can't have both. You can't have poor execution and poor pitch selection. If you do that, it don't matter what you do. He's going to continue to have outings like that. But if you like that breakdown, hit that like and subscribe button. Look both ways. Boom! And shimmy it all in. And we do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right here on the Ryan Ripken Show. And I will go back and talk about the rest of it. But, Zach, take it away for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is extremely frustrating right now for Oriole fans, to say the least, because when it comes to Charlie Morton, obviously the price tag, 1 year, $15 million. Then you see guys like Justin Verlander on the same day going out there and having himself a day for the Giants. So I understand where the frustration is coming from, but watching that, I think for me personally, it's the number of uncompetitive pitches. Like there's one thing, like you've talked about, if you get beat, you get beat. If Elly De La Cruz lays a good, barrel on the ball, he gets the ball. That's going to happen. It's the uncompetitive pitches. It's the pitches where everyone's going, okay, he's late on this. He's not seeing this well. But the analytics or whatever it might be is saying, hey, he's not hitting, your curveball's the best pitch. Let's lean curveball. Where if you have a feel for the game or you're going off strictly feel and, what's been happening, you know not to throw those pitches there. You probably don't have your curveball. I don't think he's really had his curveball all season. But overall, just a super frustrating 5 games for Charlie Morton. You felt like at times he was starting to get a little bit of momentum, but this is definitely was worst case scenario, just going out there, not able to get out of the 3rd inning. Your confidence is shot. Your bullpen they can't use anyone out of the bullpen. Then Poteet comes in. He can't really go as deep as you would hope for him to go because he's also battling. He's got to now try to cover 6 innings. They have to use Perez. They have to use then 2 position players. So it really just set everything back with his inability to get out of those innings.
Yeah. And so look, and I saw comments of saying nothing personal, but Morton's 41. Well, here's the thing. If he was a little bit younger and you can get away with your body being a little bit more lively, yeah, then age definitely does have an impact. And also where the mental fatigue is. And you got to be more locked in as you get older if your body's not firing on all cylinders, so to speak, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing for me is when you're looking at it, and I hope you guys saw this, pitch selection was my biggest problem with yesterday. It was. And the curveball I can see, I've seen the arm slot looks a little different. And I heard Jim Palmer in the broadcast say, I'm not really sure what the game plan is. And maybe the game plan is dictated on you being able to land that curveball, right? And being able to throw it. But if you're not keeping that in the zone, then go with what you have. And also remember how the hitters are seeing you. Because I'll be honest, I can't tell you how many times, Zach, when I was playing the minors. And when I put it this way, I knew if I sometimes would think I had no shot to hit this guy's pitch. So I'm going to sit on the other pitch and hope that he throws that, right? And he makes a mistake. And I've talked to pitchers after the game of going, oh man, you smoked that one. I go, well, I knew I couldn't hit your fastball or your slider. So I just was trying to sit on the one pitch I thought I could hit on that day. Yeah. And I would say the same thing for pitchers. If those guys are having struggle with your pitches, be able to make an adjustment. And I think it's a combination. It's a combination of Charlie gets to call his own game, Adley obviously behind the plate, and you could see Charlie would shake. Adley sometimes would put something down, but whatever it may be, this is a difference of somebody that people are so frustrated with compared to we could have had a different story of going, man, Charlie battled yesterday. He didn't have control, but look at him get out there and get 5-6 innings and say he gave up 3 earned runs. Would Birdland have a different perspective? I would think so if he went that deep, but we're not going to know that because the game got out of hand when it really could have been prevented, but it starts on the bump.
Yeah, and my thing with calling the game, and obviously we know the Orioles lean so heavily analytically, and we talk about maybe they're not going with the feel, they're not looking necessarily as much at how other batters are reacting and stuff. But it's even getting to the point where analytically, I mean, the weighted on base percentage or average for his curveball is 423. He's got an 800 slugging against his curve. Expected batting average is 302. He's given up an actual batting average of 400. The only pitch that has been competitive for him this season has been that four-seamer.
And what are they hitting against his four-seam fastball right now?
Only 143. So it's just, that's where I'm also like the analytics part. It's like, if you're leaning so heavily analytics and you're like, okay, what the numbers are telling us people are doing, why is he not throwing more fastballs? It is very clear he's not throwing the curveball for strikes. It just has not been good in any sense of the word this season. So I get that historically, recently, that's been his pitch, but man, it's hard when you've watched the 5 games this year from an analytical standpoint that they're sitting there telling him to throw it as much as he has, because I guess this is the number of times he's throwing the curveball more than any other pitch. He's thrown 143 curveballs, 134 four-seamers, 54 sinkers, 45 changeups, 45 cutters. If you're going to throw that pitch, the most amount of any pitch, and I would venture to say of the 143 of those pitches, 50 were just non-competitive out of the hand. And that's the issue right now, is he's not even giving himself a chance.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. We talked about him not having control of it. Well, a guy that historically has been good with not issuing a ton of walks. Like we go back to last year for Charlie Morton. Charlie, last year in 165 innings, Zach, 65 walks. Yeah. 65 in 165 innings. So far this year, he has 15 walks in 20 innings. He has no less than 2 walks, and that was actually, he had 1 walk his first outing when he faced Toronto. Since that first outing, 2 walks, 5 walks, 3 walks, 4 walks. And so his curveball is what's made him successful, but it's also then been kind of that downfall. And Brooks, you made that comment right here that, yes, analytics are going to tell you you're going to throw that puppy, right? Because that's your out pitch. That's the pitch you go to. But it's only that pitch if it can have the result. If it's not landing, you got to make the adjustment. And yesterday it wasn't the adjustment. Therefore, the Orioles fall behind, on Sunday. Then you're playing catch up. Then Cody Petit's in a tough position. He's wearing it. And then you have 2 position players come in and they put up, another 8 runs or whatever the hell it was. So there's so much context that goes into that. And so I hope for Charlie, if he's going to get another chance with the Orioles or he's going to get more outings, I really hope to see then that we can see his fastball lead until he can get that curveball rocking and rolling. But we'll find out here. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here, live in studio. And we're doing it on YouTube, X. And if you guys want to listen to us on Spotify and Apple, we upload those right after the show here. Usually it's out in the evening time. And if you guys do, hit that follow button for us and leave a review. Let us know how we're doing. We're trying to get the good word out there so we can have more and more people. Well, you guys heard earlier from Mark DeRosa as well. We have some comments from Grant Paulsen from 106.7 The Fan, and another video from Mark DeRosa as well as we get later into the show. But why don't we take a quick trip, Zach, up to our friends at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Boom. And look, Zach, our friends up at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia, they have been our OG sponsor right now from actually right after we started. So appreciate everything we've done with them. And Zach, I think it's a perfect time then because we're talking about hidden dingers. It was one hell of a week for you last. Give yourself a round of applause.
2 for 2 on my picks. Last week had Juan Soto and Gunnar, and this week we're keeping it simple. Tonight I'm going Mike Trout. 8 homers on the year, 4 of which are at home. He's batting .250 at home. He's having some struggles so far in the batting average category, but I just feel like it's hard to bet against Mike Trout. I'm thinking Mike Trout against a struggling lefty tonight. He's going to find the rocks out there in Anaheim.
I feel like he's done that multiple times in his career. Multiple. Well, if that's the case there, you're going to find out soon enough of what they are up to. And look, if you're also looking to be a member of a Penn Play member, and I actually had it right here, Zach, and I do this over under. I get this up over under 5 seconds.
Over, smash it.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3
count.
Mississippi. See, perfect. And here's the promo going on right now. If you bet online, you can get $100 in Penn cash. You just sign up for ESPN Bet to receive your first $50, and you make a deposit. To get your next 50, use the code 50PEN50. An ESPN Bet in the sports book, but you must be 21 or older. And if you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or give our Rocco DeSangro a call. He's our show spokesman when it comes to gambling issues as well. But Zach, so that's your pick tonight. Mike Trout.
I'm feeling a little Mike Trout tonight.
You're feeling frisky.
Yeah, feeling frisky. So unfortunately, it's always it's good to see Mike Trout just healthy. So, when he's healthy, I'm gonna take advantage of it.
Hip, hip. And, Jake the man, I hope the best for you. As they always say, hip, hip, parlay.
Hip, hip, parlay. And real fast, JK saying, are the O's facing a lefty tonight? They are, but Jackson Holiday and Heston Kjerstad are both in the lineup with Seti leading off. So we're getting a little bit more consistency in the lineup, even though they are facing a lefty, which makes me really happy to see as we've been talking about this. Seemingly it's kind of been like the big discussion in Baltimore over the past few weeks.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I love what Seti's doing, man. And for anyone else who wants to throw out there, Cedric didn't hit for whatever last year, erroneous. Enough. Erroneous on all accounts. You know what you need on your team? You need a freaking gamer. Yeah. Cedric Mullins is a gamer. Even when he's not hitting well, he's a gamer. You take him out of center field, you can feel him not making an impact. There's an impact, all right, but it might be negatively impacting the team. Seti is one of those guys. He looks like himself. And I think that it's so unfair that, again, Seti, man, hitting for 30 homers and 30 doubles and 30 stolen bases, your 2021 season, all that jazz. Everyone's expecting you to do that every year. I mean, that was the first time in anyone in Orioles history did that. So I'm not expecting that Ced's going to do that, but Cedric Mullins is playing at an all-star level, and that is what I expect with him in the space he's in right now. Love seeing him at the top of the order, and he's obviously off to a great start even against lefties with a couple dingers. But, Zach, it's a good time then as we're talking about this series with the Orioles and the Nationals. I have another clip that I wanted to pull up here that has to do with the team that the Orioles are facing, and we know how talented some of these Orioles are.
Yeah.
But, man, I have talked to you about a specific somebody that is making an impact here with the Washington Nationals. That's James Wood. And James Wood is absolutely smacking the hell out of the baseball. Average is down. Home runs are up, and people got to remember just how young he is. And we talked with Grant Paulsen of 106.7 The Fan down in D.C., and he gave us a little bit of a preview of what he's seen with James Wood so far and what you can expect from him in this upcoming series. So I'm going to play that clip for you guys right now. James Wood makes it look effortless. And I mean, just talk about what everyone's saying about him down there in DC so far to start this year.
Yeah, what he's done has been phenomenal. So he's not even really seeing it well, I don't think, right now. He's not locked in. You know what I mean? Like, we had a stretch here in DC last year where James would hit 4 balls 107 or higher in a game. Like, these are things that will happen, right? And it's like between 107 and 115 in exit velos, and maybe he'd go 2 for 4 with a couple of lineouts. But like, he was just, everything in the zone was getting pummeled, and he's not even really there yet. But he's already got 7 home runs, on pace for 51 jacks. And his over-under coming into the year was comically 18.5. I thought it was like the easiest money in the history of the world if he was healthy. But what's funny is he doesn't yet know, and I mean this as a compliment, not a knock, but like how to handle certain pitches. And his swing doesn't really allow for him to pull the ball for power very often yet. It's, as you said, it's almost always to the opposite field. I think he's got 2 pull-side home runs out of the 10 he has as a big leaguer at this point. And it's, it's very raw still, but the power is 75. Like, it's crazy. He is just a unique specimen. You look at his size, he's about 6'7". He played center field in the minor leagues coming up. Athletically speaking, it's like him and Judge, and Ellie De La Cruz isn't quite the same height, but some of the same traits as a big guy. And Wood is now just been moved to left where he plays every day, and he played there less than any other outfield spot. So it's actually been a real work in progress defensively. But he is a really special player, man. He's got an unbelievable eye in terms of where he's at experience-wise, to be as disciplined as he is and to have a feel for the zone. I've only seen it in DC with Juan Soto, but he's going to be a superstar.
He's going to be a superstar. There's no doubt about it here. And if I'm going to be honest, Zach, with you and everyone else that's tuning in, I think he can be a top 5 player in the next year or two. That's how high I am on James Wood. It's the effortless nature of his swing is unbelievable. And what's the best way you figure out how good you can be? You got to get reps at the big league level. And look, yeah, I see it. He's in 232 to start the year. So what? 22 years old, trying to figure it out, and you're going to get the opportunity to figure it out. But already 7 home runs on the season, 3 doubles. So 10 of his 19 hits are extra base hits currently at this point in time. He's a guy that has already walked 12 times. He does have the ability to steal bags, even though, quite frankly, he doesn't have to do that. He's only got 3. But a player that is a star power. And the Juan Soto trade that the Nats made to get rid of Soto to the Padres, that deal could be altering for the Nats for the next 10 to 12 years. Him, Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, Robert Hassel down in the minors. But James Wood is a bona fide star, not in the making. It's happening in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and I mean, Grant talked about how he's not really even on right now, and you can tell it here with his baseball savant page. He's not hitting the sweet spot. He's not barreling anything up, squaring anything up. And yet, look at where he is for slugging, average exit velocity, barrel percent. I mean, it's still coming. It's still a work in progress, which is crazy considering, like we've talked about, what he's doing. He hasn't really found the ability to pull the baseball yet, which in the air, which is a scary sight to see. But I mean, he's hitting the ball hard, even when he's missing it slightly. And the opposite field power is just second to none right now. It truly is. He's a guy that if you're the Orioles in this series, you're looking at James Wood and going, that's the guy that we got to be careful about, because he can turn, if he's got guys on base, he can bring everyone in pretty quickly.
Yeah, and also it gets out in a freaking hurry, dude. And that's what I'm saying. The effortless flick of the wrist and the bat for him, it's insane to me. Like, it looks like he's just going up there nonchalantly, and then it's a rocket out to left center. Gunnar Henderson's like that. Juan Soto's like that. But James, it literally looks like he's barely touching the baseball, and it's just taking off. And I know he hasn't pulled a lot of baseballs yet, but I always tell people that's the last part of your game. Gunnar Henderson used to be that way too, to be honest. Gunnar was a big left center guy, and he still is. He used the whole field, but he's learned how to adapt. James is going to figure that out here soon. But one thing that it's really hard to do, it's hard to teach a guy to have the opposite field power. So that's when you're growing up. I always was taught you can learn to use the big part of the field. As you get stronger and you learn how to catch the ball more out in front, then, things can change. But that should be a great series. These two teams, the Nationals and Orioles, with a bunch of talented young players. I think it's going to be fun for the next years. And if you're a fan of these teams, you got a great new deal, Zach. Why? Because MASN is now direct to consumer streaming wise. That was a hot topic all around X. So for everyone, congratulations. It is out there for you. I know people are saying it's late.
About damn time.
People are saying that, but it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's great. I think it's phenomenal that it's finally happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can talk about it. It's about time, and this should have been done probably 5 years ago, 3 years ago, but this needs to happen. They needed a direct-to-consumer type of platform or service where people don't have to pay for cable just to watch MASN. You can get, I think it's like for the rest of the season, it's like $89.99 or something for the rest of the season. You get every single Orioles game, Orioles and Nationals maybe, but this does seem like it is if better late than never. That's a big thing. It might be late, but at least they're doing it. At least they're getting it done. This is an option that I think is going to help continue to grow this sport and grow the fan base, because there's so many people with blackouts. If you don't have cable, you're not watching MASN. Like, it's just as simple as that right now. So this is another way to continue to allow people in state, with blackout restrictions. It gets very different streaming services. You don't get Orioles, even if you have a streaming service that gets baseball. So this is another way to help maybe grow the fan base, grow the game a little bit more. So I love it.
Oh, yeah. And the price right now is around $89.99, $90 for the rest of the season. So, look, it's not on every streaming platform, right? But it's a step in the right direction. And it's a great thing, because you know what? This is where everything's moving digitally, Zach. Yeah. I mean, hell, for all of you that are tuning into us, which, again, hit that like and subscribe and follow button, by the way, or if you want to be a member of the channel, help support us of what we're doing here. You can do that as well. Be a good kid. Be a part of the Holy Shirts and Pants. It's where people are getting their content. They want to have the freedom and flexibility to do what they want. And so I'm glad for that reasoning. And we're seeing how even networks across Major League Baseball are changing. FanDuel has taken over so many different networks. Apple TV has entered the game on things. Roku was in on some games as well. You're seeing it across all sports. So good for the Orioles, good for the Nationals here, if you're a fan of both teams here. So, hey, you know what? That's a phrase of mine. It's a Wedding Crashers quote as well. People helping people. We're actually going to have more of those segments as well, community-based here. So if you guys have some things that you want to know about in the community, guess what? Stop by on here. We're going to have more and more as it goes. And should we have a Holy Shirts and Pants cookout at some point?
We should.
Cookout at the yard?
Going. Yeah, we should get something going.
Yeah. What are we cooking?
It's got to be burgers and dogs.
That's it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the easiest, I feel like.
I didn't tell you. Joe Noga gave me the mustard packs.
Did he?
I did. I met him. Get from Cleveland straight up, and I put mustard on the dog there. It might be the first time I've ever done that. And it actually was pretty damn good. Still, we need a plain hot dog in the race. I got to talk to corporate about that. I feel like it's a huge audience that would root for the plain dog. For the naked dog. You don't have to call it plain. You can call it naked dog.
Is that better?
You know what? Saying it out loud?
Yeah, probably.
I don't think that should be.
Dog. Probably stick to plain dog.
We'll stick to plain dog.
Stick to plain dog.
Stick to plain dog. That would be. That's good for everybody. You know what? We're going to dive more into some baseball conversations. But, Zach, we just had the weekend here, and every Tuesday we got to go to you on what the hell is happening on the internet here. So, Zach, why don't we take a trip to the browsing history? Bolly's browsing.
Yeah, let me pull this up real quick, because this is the most egregious. Here, hold up. Let me share my screen. So if you, I guess there's a rule in baseball, if you break it down to its core, that you put the ball in play and you race to the base. And then if it's not first base, you have to stay on the base. And I understand that you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to stay on the base and that, but Ryan, we talk about feel a lot here on this show and, kind of having some feel for situations. And that is not what happened in the Guardians versus Pirates game when Emmanuel Valdez was in a close play at third. And I guess we'll play it right here. So we have a close play at third base. He is going to come in and be safe. Awesome. Umpire calls him safe. There we go. We have the confirmation he is safe. Valdez, as you see with his arm right now, he's hurt. Landed awkwardly on his arm. Not sure what happened. He is calling for time. And he is called out. So let's, as you see him in pain right there, let's go for a little bit of a different angle, as we can see up here.
Pain.
He is asking for time. He's called safe after this. Called safe. He is asking for time in pain. And he is tagged out.
Oh, damn. That just stinking sucks, dude. It is the right call because the umpire didn't grant him time.
Yeah.
But when you're hurting, you're not really thinking straight, and you're already safe initially. Now, what he could have done is you could just yell out like time, but maybe you're in so much pain that you're not thinking of that.
The universal is you say time and you put the hand up like, hey, time, and the ump will go, okay, time. And he was, I think, out of habit being like, hey, by the way, like time, like thanks, hey, can I get some time? Oh, that is a brutal situation to be in. I mean, you hustle the third, you get in safe, close play. Obviously, you're hurt.
Ruled safe.
Yeah, ruled safe. That's what sucks even more is the confirmation. Like, yeah, no, you're safe. You're good. And he's like, okay, cool. Time. Like, arm is, kind of just flailing around right here. Can I get some time? Not there. Now you're out.
And it's just being honest, it is a shitty rule. That's how it is. Because it could just be like you could get the awareness, always in distress. All right, hey, play's over. But, shout out Jose Ramirez, though, at least.
Sticking with it.
You got to stick with it. I'm not saying I agree with everything, but that is the rule. But, man, shirts and pants, I'd be pissed. If I'm like, time. Or next time I'm just going to yell, time, and then get up and roll over. I think that's actually what I did when I got hit in the nuts on the ball, Zach. I was just laying on the base, just screaming, but for a different reason. Brutal right there. And that was for the Pirates, if I'm not mistaken, right? My mind was there.
Yes, and I'm looking it up right now. I believe they got good news on his injury, so it wasn't as bad as originally thought. But that's the only positive, I guess, out of that.
Well,
because
isn't that a silver lining?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. But I will say this. If that happened in an Orioles game, I would have been losing my mind.
And that's just the way the cookie crumbles here. And how about the other thing with the Pirates, by the way? You see that John Boy did the breakdown and then saying that Andrew McCutchen, that it was intentional throwing at him. And then Andrew McCutchen responds on X. No, it wasn't intentional, which is absolutely hysterical. And I love the breakdowns, by the way. It just goes to show you never truly, truly know every little thing that happens. Now it's Jorge Lopez getting suspended then for 3 games. Whammy in that one. So the Pirates, a little bit eventful ball here the last few days. And baseball is back in full force here. And it's going to continue to be back in full force for the rest of the year. We still got 5+ months, Zach, of underreacting, overreacting, and having some great guests. But on a daily occurrence, you can check out Kevin and Zach Reacts, one of the other Ryan Ripken media channels. That's where Kevin and Zach are going to be live after every Orioles game or breaking. And they will be on there to be with you through the highs and the lows, including what was a very passionate crowd on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
to say the least, but they're there, rain or shine, anger or happiness, and everything in between. So check them out. Follow them over at Kevin Zach Reacts, part of the Ryan Ripken Media. Let's continue on here because we did talk more about with Mark DeRosa on a few other concepts.
Yeah.
And one of those things was about, well, what's kind of been a surprise for you to start the season. And I wish I had the other clip where he talked about the panic meter of how many games. And so everyone thinks, again, maybe I am crazy, but Mark was saying get to at least 40 games before we start to really do that. And what I've always said, middle of May, get to June and see what happens. Mark agrees with that sentiment. But I also want to know from Mark, I mean, so far, who has he thought has been a surprising team? And it kind of goes into where our conversation went to earlier, Zach, about analytics versus the consistency of the lineup. Well, that kind of goes into who Mark is really impressed with and why he thinks this team is going to be around in the hunt for the rest of the season. So let me play that clip for you guys. And maybe it's caught your eye so far that you are going to continue to track here, whether it's a team, player, or even possible rule changes that they're going to have to further address.
Yeah, I love doing the spring training previews. I did 8 this year out in Arizona. I love getting a feel for what the vibe is around the clubhouse. And I know everybody goes to spring training with the rah-rah, and but you feel it, right? And I'm gonna single out the San Francisco Giants. Buster Posey taking over for Farhan Zaidi has brought a whole different, it went from analytics to ball player mentality. You could feel it in spring training. If their rotation stays healthy, the Willie Adames sign, $182 million, maybe that's the largest contract ever given to a San Francisco Giant. Is he worthy of that? I don't know, but he makes them a heck of a lot better. And he brings a lot of energy, and that ball player wanting to play every day, standing next to Matt Chapman. They're real. If they stay healthy, they got a chance to scare some people. They're in a juggernaut division. I think the D-backs are good. The Dodgers are obviously chalk. And you look at the Padres have gotten off to a great start, but I don't think the Giants go anywhere the entire season.
It's a hell of a division.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fascinating, the presence immediately felt by Buster Posey. And for those that don't remember Buster, one of the best catchers that we've seen over the last 2 decades. And he won World Series, plural, out there with the Giants. Big part of those teams. Some would say he was the foundation. People make comparisons for Adley Rutschman to Buster Posey about trying to have that type of impact on a team. But Buster said, we got to get a little bit more back to our basics. And you can sense right now that the Giants have a feel that we are changing the culture here in San Francisco, and it's a very tough division, very tough. But the Giants do have some really good pieces. They're off to a great start. But Buster Posey, I don't think it's a coincidence, Zach, that we're seeing it with him. We've mentioned about forming an identity.
Yeah.
And one of the things, too, I was fascinated with was him saying, I don't know if Willie Adames, Mark was saying, I don't know if Willie Adames is going to be worth that contract. But does he make him better? Yes. Does he add a different presence that fits their culture? So far, it looks like he has. I thought that was a very interesting wording there.
Yeah, and I think that kind of, it takes you back to the conversations a lot that we were having this offseason of, if you give guys contracts that you believe analytically that they deserve, or that's their, what you're going to get out of them, here fits perfectly what you're going to give us. You're not going to get a lot of guys because, teams overpay, teams have to do it. The Giants saw, hey, maybe the numbers, maybe the stats, maybe the overall analytics aren't going to be at the end of this, that this was worth every single penny, but they saw an opportunity to get better at a darn good ball player that fits their culture, fits that gritty, hey, I'm coming in here to game. I want to be there all 162. I want to, go as hard as possible for until October, until it's over. So I think that sometimes that's the way to, run the club. It's, hey, Buster Posey's sitting there, and I don't think it's a, coincidence that this happens when he takes over, and DeRosa talk about that baseball feel. It's a baseball player feel. It's not just analytics. They saw a good player. They thought that good player could take them to another level, and they went and they got him.
They certainly did. And so far, the Giants have been one of the great stories out there in the National League and just all throughout baseball. And so have the San Diego Padres as well. Two teams that, people weren't necessarily having as much focus on, but both are off to great starts. Giants are 15-8. Padres are 16-7. Dodgers are 16-7. And then those Arizona Diamondbacks, 13-9. And ironically, when we're looking around baseball here so far, Zach, if I want to kind of wrap it all in and tie it in, there are going to be teams that are still going to figure it out for a long period of time. You want to get off to these starts, right? But then look down in Atlanta. Atlanta started off 0-7. They're finally turning the corner. They've won 7 of their last – oh, gosh. So they closed the gap a little bit here. So they're 0-7 to start. They're 9-6 over the last 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're 9-13 on the year. Same record as the Washington Nationals after starting off slow. The American League right now, Texas sitting at 13-9. Seattle was down in the depths to start the season. They're sitting at 12-10. I know the Orioles are sitting at 9-12, but have you seen the Kansas City Royals, Zach?
Not doing too hot.
9-14, and the Detroit Tigers put it to them for the majority of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting at 9-14, a team that people thought was going to be contending.
Yeah.
And ironically, when you look at this, and I still think that they will at the end of the day, but the Twins are 7-15. They were the favorites to win the AL Central going into this year. Injuries, issues.
Yeah.
7-15. Did you bet on them?
No, the Twins. Remember beforehand, I couldn't buy the Twins. I know they were the favorites to win it. Just something about that division. It feels like I said, they just pick out of a hat who's going to. There's always one team that kind of starts to run away with it. And then there's two teams that get really scrappy throughout and are like fighting for the wild card. I feel like that's just the AL Central every single year, and they just rotate positions.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. And one thing I want to say about the Baltimore Orioles, right? And people say, this team's bad. Well, yeah, they could have played better. But I'll tell you what, it's not like they've been playing scrub teams. Cleveland Guardians, who they won their only series against this year, it's 13-9 right now. Boston Red Sox, 13-11. Toronto Blue Jays over 500 at 12-11. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at this list of guys. Arizona Diamondbacks, they're over 500. So we're looking at this team right now, and the Cincinnati Reds, and even after this series, they were a team that was under 500 going in. They are now sitting at 11-12 after losing last night. So that's the worst team right now. Am I missing a series in between here? Right? So it's not like the Orioles have played bad opponents, but when you play better teams, you got to execute. So they're not executing, but they're only 3 games under 500. And they got some things they got to sort out. We've dove into that a lot, but as you know, Zach, you're too big of a homer.
Yeah, you.
Not me.
Yeah, no, not you.
Just you.
Just the show.
Just the show. And so the beauty of it is, and Mark DeRosa said it, 40 games, I like to think, get to mid-May to June, and we'll see what we have.
Yeah, he said get to about 100, 120 at-bats, 150 at-bats. Like guys said, let yourself form a batting average. Not just you get a hit and suddenly it jumps 15 points. Actually get an
I
average.
wish it did.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of these guys right now in the Orioles wish it did still. But get a batting average, kind of really see how your season's going and then adjust from there. But at the same time, to get to 150 at-bats in those 40 to 50 games, you can't have guys playing half the games. So, I think that also comes hand in hand with you need 40 games to get guys their opportunities, but that means you have to give them the opportunities in those 40 games. It's hard to, that 40 games to get 120, 150 at-bats can turn into 50, 60 for some of these guys. And at that point, 60 games into the year, you don't want to be trying to, quote unquote, find yourself. You want to have kind of an established what you feel like you are and kind of roll from there.
Oh, no doubt about it. And one thing I actually, since we're talking about this right now, and we're talking about trying to find yourself, and I think it's a good way to put this all in together with our baseball work. I wanted to play the clip from Westberg about identity, since we just talked about Buster Posey, and teams are trying to find it. But let's talk one more time about what Westy believes the Orioles should be, and we'll react real quickly on the other side of what they still need to do to get there. So let me play that clip for you guys.
Really early, and there's a long ways to go. And we kind of know how talented we are. We know what we want our identity to be. It's just about continuing to build on that every single day, no matter what the result is, right? Or what the product looks like on the field. There's a process behind it, and trusting in ourselves, trusting in our guys, knowing that everybody behind you has your back. Like, that's what it comes down to.
You mentioned, though, identity, Westy. Like, I'm curious. Like, I watched the Guardians, and I don't know how to describe the Guardians play specifically. They say it's Guardians ball.
Just scrappy.
Just scrappy. That's a good way to describe it. But if the Guardians are scrappy, like, how would you define with the Orioles? Like, what do you want to be? I guess I should say, identity-wise.
Yeah, I think we want to be kind of like blue collar, gritty, along the similar lines as a Guardians club. When I think of our roster, you don't think of us like you think of a Dodgers lineup or a Yankees lineup, maybe. Not saying that we don't have that talent. We do. But I think it's going to come through a channel of having to be a little bit more gritty than the other guys, the guys across, in the other dugout. It's going to take a little bit more blue collar, tough mindset. Like, I don't care who you are. We're going to find a way. That kind of vibe, I think, is kind of the ball that we're striving to play. There's been a lot of talk about like playing with an edge, playing a little bit pissed off, just being tough guys. I think is how I want, or how I hope our identity, settles at the end of the day, somewhere in that range.
So you're saying, want to be blue collar, want to be gritty, and recently, why I brought it up is Westberg was quoted after the game, after the loss, about being embarrassed, and we got to play a little bit more pissed off. Well, that's what they want to aspire to be. But so far, Zach, it hasn't been the case on the day-to-day. I like the fact that they are going to go back to work. Westberg, to me, is that type of guy. He's not hanging his head. He's gotten off to a frustrating start. He's a little bit banged up. But as a whole, that's what you want to get to. But right now, they're not there. We talked about Buster Posey to start this off with the Giants. Culture change right there. You can kind of just feel it, a presence of it. I wonder if it's going to be Westberg or someone else with that team where you start to feel it throughout. So far, unless I'm wrong with this, Zach, I don't think that feeling is necessarily out there. Yeah. But it can eventually over time. And hopefully then it starts tonight. You're playing the Nationals. And then you hope to win this series, because guess what? You're facing one of the best teams currently right now in the Tigers when you go to Detroit to open up the weekend.
Yeah. And Westy he described the 2023 Orioles. What they want to do. They want to be a team that's going to be scrappy. They're going to claw for everything. They're not, when you put them up, side by side to some of these billion-dollar lineups, yeah, maybe they don't have the talent. It's, some of the top guys is, the Dodgers. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. The Padres, have that star power. Orioles, Sheets. Yeah, the Orioles got their guys, but I think at the end of the day, it is playing with this chip on their shoulder, playing a little pissed off, playing to the part of, hey, we don't care that we're down 3 going into the 8th. We'll win this damn game. We're going to find a way. And I feel like that's what they lack right now, is that ability to look at themselves in the mirror and say, we can still win this ball game. I think that's where, and you talked about it, Charlie Morton on Sunday. It's a day game. All of a sudden you're down 8-1 in the 3rd. It's a ball game. A day game. You got an off day the next day. That's ball game. That was done. And so I think it's frustrating because you do feel like they are still missing that edge a little bit, and that little bit of confidence of, it doesn't matter the score, they're going to go try and win that game. Feels like at times this year, and it is still early, they've fallen down by larger deficit, 4 or 5 runs, and instead of being the, hey, chip away, let's get, 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th, and we win this game. It's kind of like well, damn, we'll get them tomorrow. And I don't think that's what they want, and I don't think that's what the organization wants.
Nope. No, they don't. But it's early, and sometimes you got to mold into what you hope to become. Right now for the Orioles, good thing is that they have room for improvement, just like a lot of teams. Like, I'm not sleeping on the Kansas City Royals. I know that they're off to a rough start. It's a talented team. They're not playing the way that they want to, and now they're opening up with the Rockies tomorrow. Specifically, I believe, is their first game. I don't know if there was a rain out or something. But this is the team right now. Kansas City Royals are 28th in batting average, Zach, 29th in runs scored, 9th in earned run average, right? And they have been losers of goodness until they've won one game in Cleveland since they opened the series on the 11th, right? They have 2 wins since April 11th. 1 win against the Guardians, 1 win against the Tigers. They snapped a 6-game losing skid before they beat Detroit on Sunday. So the context matters here, and I was wrong. They opened up tonight against Colorado, one of those struggling teams throughout baseball. But Kansas City's a talented team. They're going to have to figure it out. Baltimore's a talented team. They have to figure it out. Every team has their weaknesses, but how do you try to get better at those over time? And if you do that, you will be in a better position. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2:30-ish to 4:30-ish. We're doing this all the time, but help us spread the word. We're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get a podcast. Leave a review for us. Tell people all about us. If you like us, if you hate us, hey, say something about us. It helps us get it out there more. We care about our community. We have a lot more fun engagement activities that we have planned upcoming in future weeks here as we continue to work on making this better for each and every one of you. Zach, as we get ready, because later in the week, we'll talk a little bit more about NFL draft. And, that is on Thursday, and it's still baseball time, but it's still happening. It's the one time of the year that we kind of have moments. And one clip before we get wrapping up here that we wanted to share. There is a quarterback in this draft that is very polarizing as far as what could he be. Kind of reminds you of someone when they were coming out of the draft in Lamar Jackson. But this said quarterback, actually, Zach, thinks he is faster than the number 8 here on the Ravens. So let's play that clip for you guys real quick.
GM Andrew Berry, president GM of the Browns, said that you could maybe beat Lamar Jackson in a race. Maybe you're faster than him. Now you're competitive. Are you faster than Lamar?
I agree.
You said what?
I agree.
You agree? How much? Like you really? I can't wait to see you in the NFL. I just can't wait.
I love just saying accurate. And that was on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams there. It's Jalen Milroe, right? Alabama quarterback, talented player, had a up and down last season with Alabama. And so people are wondering, well, what's the upside? But the reason why I said comparison, well, people were very skeptical of Lamar, even though the guy did win the Heisman, by the way, and it was so decorated already in college, not to say Jalen isn't. But I'd love to see that race. I have a hard time thinking, though, Lamar's losing that, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time, and players talk about it. You don't understand how fast Lamar is until he gets out there. And Lamar, gosh, Zay Flowers, every Raven has said it before. Lamar, probably we've seen him run at 80%. Like, Lamar does not use his 100% speed. I don't think he's ever used it. And at the end of the day, if Jalen Milroe is faster in a straight line, maybe, cool. But I think it's going to be more like that's a fun thing to discuss. Maybe straight line speed. The shiftiness of Lamar makes it totally different. We'll see the throwing ability. I'm not going to judge Milroe on his first year throwing because we saw Lamar first year to year 7, the big jump he's made there. So I think it's unfair to compare arms right now, arm talent, but Jalen Milroe is going to be a very fun quarterback in this league. Obviously the conversation is he faster than Lamar, all that. Don't think it really matters. I think he's going to be, I hope he goes to a team that can develop him and not just be like, here's the keys, drown, swim or drown, because I think that's the wrong way to approach this. But I think Jalen Milroe, he gets in the right system, he could be a very fun quarterback. Don't know if he's as fast or faster than Lamar. I guess we'll find that out. But it's going to be a fun little time when Matt Miller, when he was on here, said Jalen Miller that was his
most intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Shout out Matt Miller, NFL draft analyst with ESPN. He is a fan of the Kansas City Royals. We were talking about some early struggles with both squads, and hopefully we'll get Matt on here after the NFL draft, as he is going to be swamped there in Green Bay. And as we lead up, we're going to have a lot of fun draft stories. I mean, we've sat down with so many great guests in the past, Zach. Yeah. Joe Flacco, Eric DeCosta. We were going through clips there. We're going to show you the draft and thought process, and also some things you might believe and some things you might not. And you might be right about some of them. You might be wrong about the others. We got so much more of that for the rest of the week of the show. And as we wrap all this up, let's talk about what we have tomorrow for you all. Well, it is our Iron Rooster Cooking segment. Woo. So I forget that was another name I was going to say, Cooking with Kyle.
Yeah.
It was going to be something else. But the Iron Rooster Restaurant and Kyle, they're going to be here, and we are going to be making up some more dishes for everyone to try. Might have a few guests that are up our sleeve. We're waiting on some confirmations before I announce that. And then we're going to continue to get you ready for all of the Major League action that is going to continue to go on. And, well, maybe what is the drama that is approaching this NFL draft here. But, guys, before we get on out of here, do me a favor. Hit that like and subscribe button for the Ryan Ripken Show. And one more time for the one time, I got to thank Merit Clubs, sponsor for us. We got a lot of things planned with them. And now we got that Papa shot in here, Zach.
Woo! That'll be fun.
And we will be back for what? Do we do the workout spin the wheel segment tomorrow for Merit right after we eat?
Oh, that's good. But might as well.
Might as well. Give the people what they want. You guys can vote on the exercises that we have to participate in live right here on the show. And as always, here with Merit Clubs, they're giving me the opportunity to give away free membership opportunities. Yeah. And we did have the 30 days. It might go down to 2 weeks, but maybe they can be persuaded. But use that link and then use the code RIP25, RIP25, all lowercase, and you got a chance to join us, get some shots up, pool time, and maybe you can run with Zach as he prepares for a half marathon. How's that going, by the way, bud?
Haven't ran since.
Haven't ran since? So what are we doing? Joe wants burpees tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh. Please don't vote burpees. It's the one thing.
We're going to get the wheel going.
We do need a wheel.
Where's Mr. Puppy? Mr. Puppy loves that damn basketball. Mr. Puppy can be involved. Is he somewhere down there? See if we can get the full. Well, there's Charlie.
Yeah. It's a disappointment.
Hello, Charlie. Ooh, 50 push-ups. Well, hey, you know what? In a row consecutively in this
economy?
Why not? But Iron Rooster tomorrow. And then we got a new segment coming your way on Thursday. Conversations with Kelly.
Ooh.
Mama Kelly. I might not let her back after this. We'll see what happens. But Kevin, member for 6 months. Appreciate you. See you for draft coverage. Gents, yeah, big week. Big week. I want some shockers, but we can save that for a different time here. I appreciate each and every one of you. So, Zach, I think without further ado, boom, bum, bum. What now? As always, here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, and have a great stinking Tuesday. We'll be back here tomorrow. We're cooking, and we might have some great guests lined up for you. So stay tuned. But until then, be good. Be good.